Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Let's continue.
Especially the kitchen, it would be better to keep it clean. When it is clean, there won't be so many insects coming for food.
咱们可是啊，应该行护的，你行护，但是这些虫子你不是给它，它就给你很多麻烦，甚至你要吃。
We should practice giving. You are practice giving. But what about these insects? When you give to them, they will cause you many troubles in return.
吃了这个虫子就呕吐、生病，种种的问题。
If we eat these insects, among other problems, we would throw up and become ill.
你不是给这鸽子可以，不是给那个那种东西，那个中国人叫板杂，广东人叫板杂，会干杂。
It's not a problem to give to the pigeon, but when you give to that thing, in Chinese they are called gaja, in Cantonese gaja, which is cockroach.
这两个字呢，你不认识。那么这种东西啊，吃了人就会做，就吐。
This cockroach, you don't know these two Chinese characters. If we eat this stuff, we will throw up from the stomach.
所以啊，特别干净，特别清净。令人呢吃了都发一种道心。
So, you need to be very careful, need to be clean, so that people can bring forth the resolve for the way after eating.
这个饮食啊不容易来的，能人呢用很多血、很多汗，能有这个成就。
Food is not easy to come by. Farmers spend lots of blood, lots of sweat. It's a way of describing lots of effort to have such achievement.
现在有人把它做熟了，他们吃，所以呢，他们吃了东西啊，人人都要发道心，不要净发妄想。
Now, somebody also cook it for us to eat. Therefore, after eating, everybody should bring forth the resolve for the way, and not force think all the time.
又有一个说法，你要有道心呢，这个茶饭就是好不好，也一样修行。你要。
There is another saying that you should have resolve for the way. Whether this food is good or not, you still cultivate.
没有道心，就是茶饭好，你也不修持。
If you don't have resolve for the way, even if the food is good, you still would not cultivate.
所以呢，这又要回光返照，你自己有没有道心？
So, you should return the light to illuminate inward, to see if you yourself have resolve for the way.
有道心呢，什么事情也没有问题的；也没有道心呢，什么事情都有问题，没有问题。
If you have resolve for the way, nothing is a problem. If you don't have resolve for the way, everything is a problem.
All right. Any questions, comments? Are we warmed up yet? Why don't you all stand up and do jumping jacks, 30 jumping jacks? No? It's very cold, so be careful. Keep yourself warm. You're going to get a cold and catch a cold and maybe COVID as well. So please be careful. As I listen to Master YongHua, it's interesting because it's been a while since I listened to this, and he's clearly he's so Chinese. I don't know what else to express it. Everything he says is so Chinese. Okay, keep it clean. Keep the kitchen clean. How do you keep it clean? I don't know. Kitchen people, how do you keep it clean? Because there's lots of people, they come and go and they're going to make a mess. So keep it clean. So basically, let them make a mess and you clean up after them, right? And don't complain. Don't fight. You practice giving, but you cannot give to the cockroaches. Okay. Any input? Cockroaches? They're everywhere, aren't they? I mean, like, yes, too.
Mô Phật và Thầy, nhà bếp muốn sạch sẽ đó, Thầy cái người mà phương trượng kêu bằng dẫn đầu đó, người đó phải sắp xếp làm sao đó, Thầy cho nó đâu vào đó, Thầy tới cái người kế tiếp đó, Thầy người ta cũng làm như vậy. Rồi tới cái người thứ ba người ta cũng làm như vậy. Chứ một cái người mà dẫn đầu đó, nó không có sắp xếp đàng hoàng đó, Thầy xuống đó, ăn rồi bài rồi bỏ đi như vậy đó, Thầy mệt cho những người đó. Mệt cho những người mà không biết làm sao mà nói nữa. Nói Thầy nó phiền não, phiền phức. Thầy con ở Giảng Phật Thành đó, Thầy có người phương trượng đó, giữ cái nhà bếp đó, Thầy rất là gọn gàng, đâu đó đàng hoàng. Rồi xuống đó biết bao nhiêu. Tới cái người mà, những người mà lại giúp việc đó, làm xong đó, đâu đó cũng sắp xếp đàng hoàng chứ không có mà bỏ mà đi. Mà những người mà bỏ mà đi rồi đó, Thầy cái người phương trượng đó không có cho người đó tới nhà bếp nữa. Mô Phật.
Master, in my opinion, I think in order to keep the kitchen clean, the abbot of the temple need to organize and make sure that everybody follow the rule. So the abbot set the rule, and then the next person and the next person will have to follow. And so then people will know that, okay, after they eat, they need to clean, they need to keep everything in order. And then to avoid that people just eat and then walk away and make a mess there, then other people, when they clean up, they will be very afflicted. So I noticed, like at CTTB, the abbot keep everything very clean and in order, and everybody needs to follow. And whoever make a mess in the kitchen, that person are not allowed to walk into the kitchen anymore.
Okay, any other comments? Any agreement or disagreements? 3.
Thank you, Master. From what I've seen, the kitchen at Blue Mountain Temple, at Way Mountain Temple, and at Gold Forest Temples are immaculate, very clean.
Duh. So what's the problem, huh? Hey, lady, what's your problem? It's not clean enough? Okay. Go on, Trey.
I also have not observed anyone making offerings to cockroaches or other insects.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, go Q&A.
Comments just over the Dharma talk over the last few nights. I want to comment that as a Chinese. So years ago, when I first heard the Dharma of Great Master YongHua, I was kind of in shock. I was like, wow, this person, the way he acts and then the teachings he explains is really kind of like the stuff I read in his like books from 1,000, 2,000 years ago. It's like people did those things back then. At least that's what I read, and I was like, really, people really do that now? Is that like not all those, not just like drama and fictions, and they're true? So I was really kind of shocked and amazed. It's like opened like a door to the possibilities of how people conduct themselves. So that was really, really great. But at the same time, I was totally kind of felt like it was the standards were too high for normal people like me, and then they're just impossible. It's like everything I feel Master Shenhua said was like kind of scolding like to like people like me who cannot keep up those things like even remotely. So
Specifically, which ones can't you keep up? Are you saying all of them?
which ones? Just the way he explained like how you have to work hard, like the way you and the way you have to like have really pure contact, like yeah, sorry, I cannot have specifics, but it's pretty much similar to what we heard, like the 100 Chan talks, and just the level of purity is. I did read about them, that's kind of like how the ancient people behave, but it's pretty not anybody I met or do things like that. So sorry, not very specifics. But I just want to say that I really appreciate Master expanded this to us so that we know it's okay to not be able to meet those standards. It's kind of like a big relief in some sense. So that's my comment. And then I also have a question. It's just, I think Master, you talked about a few days ago when Master Shenhua explained something about like work hard, and I think you were saying work hard like that is if that's the only thing you do, it's like Hinayana, or it limits yourself to Hinayana. So I was thinking that okay, so we don't have to do that. which is great for lazy people like me. But what are the things we do to kind of make that up or give us that extra edge? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I was thinking.
No, it doesn't make sense. A lot of people are shaking their heads.
Okay, I don't know why they're shaking their heads.
Yes,
but-
4. Chime in 4.
All I would say is that if you want to take care of the roaches, just invite more Koreans. There's no way they're going to survive here. The Koreans are so diligent, they work so hard, and I really appreciate what they do.
Who?
The Koreans that are here,
Are you sort of hungry or something?
I mean, man, their food is amazing.
This is like I can barely talk. This is suffering. Why am I here? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, this is, again, we touch on something that we're going to have a lot of disagreements because people disagree and only among yourselves, also with me and I with Master YongHua. And then Jun with Master YongHua as well, even though she's Chinese, she disagrees with a Chinese teacher. I mean, this is a mess. And then Yin disagrees with me. She's just chiding me. She said, Master, you're not clean, you're not tidy. That's why your husband, your kitchen is so bad. You get that drift, don't you? Okay. Mea culpa, it's my fault. Yes, absolutely. Everything is my fault. Okay. That's the universal truth. All right. Let's talk about 2 things, about Chinese instructions, style versus, and the kitchen stuff. Okay. The kitchen stuff first. Okay. First of all, except for Chun, who admitted it, we all are tidy, aren't we? We clean. You know, we don't want to leave a mess. Does anyone want to leave a mess? I don't. Except for Francis and Chun, the rest of us are very clean people. We think of ourselves as clean, responsible. Yes? Okay. And so I think the problem with the lady there is a matter of degrees, okay? Degrees of cleanliness, okay? For example, I went to Korea and I went crazy. I mean, I couldn't see any single, any dust at all anywhere. And I said, is that how Koreans live? I'm ashamed to admit that, you know, my room, my place has been 3 years since I vacuumed it. So, yes, I understand. So different people have different standards. I feel my house is clean enough. Okay? But clearly, the Koreans that come to my house, they probably will do, you live in a pigsty. And go in and say, oh, how could you just stand it? So the point here is that the standard doesn't come from me, because I'm no good at this. The standard comes from the kitchen manager. Okay, I have no problems. Every time you change a kitchen manager, each person will have different standards. It's okay, it's perfectly okay. That's part of cultivation. Cultivation is not rigid, like there's a mold where you need to fit in, otherwise you're no good. Okay? Cultivation is to be flexible, to adjust constantly. So it's the same thing in the kitchen. Sometimes kitchen manager is more lax, sometimes the kitchen manager is not. So you adjust, you adapt, that's all. Okay? For what purpose? In order what? Why do we need to adapt? It's not about cleanliness. What is it about? You guys got it all wrong. If you talk about clean, I would let the Koreans dictate the standards. I would not touch cleanliness with a 10-foot pole, okay? They are the experts. Just go to Seoul and you see it's no dust anywhere at all. Too much, okay? Let me tell you, lady, I went to Korea. The Korean houses are much cleaner than yours. How's that? I've been to your house, okay? Ipche's house is a lot cleaner than yours. Maybe because Sean doesn't live there. Okay? So what is it about? The kitchen is not about cleanliness because each person is different. Each manager has different standards. Okay? So what is it about? What is it? Dharma in the kitchen. Someone tells me, please. Yes, 4.
Master, I think it's a matter of according with conditions.
According to the conditions. All right. Very good. Anyone else? Three.
Thank you, Master. I think the most important Dharma of the kitchen is the Dharma of gathering and welcoming others.
Say what?
I'd be happy to clarify. Because if I don't feel like gathering is okay, or if I don't feel welcome, I'm not going to bring my appetite.
Too deep. That Dharma is too deep for my Dharma. Okay? But there's some meaning somewhere there. We need some more time to decipher it. Okay? Anyone else? I like to keep things simple. It's too deep. I get lost. Yes, 8. What is the Dharma in the kitchen? And by the time I teach you.
Master Chris L. said, I feel that Master Xuanhua's teaching about cleanliness is in the kitchen is his way of teaching us about ridding bad habits and decluttering ourselves. Shouldn't a cultivated mind be free of clutter?
Very good. Yeah, that's Master Xuanhua's perspective. Absolutely. Anyone else? And this is important because this is what differentiates the Chinese from us. In my opinion, the Dharma in the kitchen is not to afflict others. That includes according with conditions, includes cleanliness, includes what? Whatever you say, okay? What we try to do in the kitchen is not to afflict others when we can. So if the kitchen manager is supposed to be very strict and very demanding, then we follow her standards. When she has a back turn, we can relax. Because we have no longer afraid of afflicting her. When she comes back, we clean up our act again, so as not to afflict her. Vice versa, the kitchen manager also must not afflict the people who work in the kitchen. It works both ways. No one standard for cleanliness, okay? You try to tell him, and if they don't understand cleanliness, people like Jun, for example, or Francis, they're hopeless. So what can you do? You tell them, and then you let them do the things, and after they're gone, you clean up. That's all. After them. You don't get afflicted. Don't want to afflict them either. That's the Dharma in the kitchen. It's not about cleanliness at all to me. And you try to tell them, but it doesn't always work. Yes. Two.
Mô Phật và Thầy. Tại vì con á, thì mình ở nhà là mình sống một cách khác, mình đi ra tới ngoài là mình sống một cách khác, mình vô chùa thì mình biết một cách khác. Tại vì ngọ con đó đi, Ngài Hòa Thượng Tiên Hóa đó, ngọ đi được 7 cái chùa là của Ngài Hòa Thượng Tiên Hóa. Mà con đi đó thì nhất là con từ mà chánh điện đi tới qua cái nhà bếp, mà cái nhà bếp nào đó 5-7 căn của Hòa Thượng Tiên Hóa, cái nhà bếp đó, cái nào cũng sạch sẽ gọn gàng, khăn ăn xong rồi không có thấy một cái chén, không có thấy một cái dĩa. Nó hay tới như vậy đó. Rồi cái người mà tới để giúp, tới mà để làm công quả để ấy đó, thì nó cũng đâu đó nó cũng đàng hoàng lắm. Làm rồi xong đó, người ta cũng để đâu đó đàng hoàng, chứ người ta không có bỏ đây một cái, bỏ đằng kia một cái, không có. Thì ý là mình học được cái này là quả ngăn là người bê bối nhất đó, ở trong gia đình đó. Mà con đi tới chùa là con học được một cái đó rất là hay.
Very good.
Đó thì con cũng thấy là cái đó là một cái đại sự, chứ không phải là một cái nhỏ nhặt. Nhưng cái gia đình mình giống mà mình đi chùa đó, có Ngài Hòa Thượng Tiên Hóa nhiều khi lễ lộc cặn mấy ngàn người ăn chứ đâu phải là mà ít. Rồi có khi đó mình đi chùa nhỏ thì được mấy trăm người ăn, mấy chục người ăn, thì cũng đâu đó nó cũng đàng hoàng lắm. Nó không có đi mà mình không có thấy một cái chén cái dĩa ăn xong rồi á qua cái nhà bếp rồi mình không có thấy một cái chén cái dĩa, muốn kiếm cái ly cũng không có. Người ta có để ngăn nắp để đàng hoàng hết. Tại vì mình ở đây đó thì mình cũng không có nói chấp được, phải không? Tại chùa này đó là cái bằng nó cũng chưa tới chưa tới cái bằng nó sắp xếp được một cái ấy nữa, thì nó có hơi thiếu thốn rất là nhiều điều kiện. Mô Phật vậy. Mình cũng phải thông cảm cho đó. Rồi đó, mình nói cái gì đó thì mình đừng có buộc người ta làm như vậy, không phải tùy theo. Thì cái người mình đi những cái chùa như vậy đó thì mấy người đó cũng rất là giỏi, mình rất là tôn trọng, mình cũng phải đi học theo những cái đó để mình ra mình hoạt động gì đó.
Okay.
Master, for me, I think like when people are at home, it's okay, they can do whatever. But once they are outside or when they are at the temple, they need to follow the rule. So I visited Master YongHua 7 temples, and then I observed from the Buddha hall down to the kitchen. All of the temple are very clean and very well organized. So after the meal time, everybody put all of the dishes away, and then you cannot see any bowl or plate or cup of water laying around. Like even you want to find it, they put it, they hide it so well that you couldn't find it. And then I think these are the things that we need to learn from them. This is not a small thing, but like we have to consider that it's a big deal, that we have to learn and follow the rule. And, I understand that at your temple, the standard is not there, and then you are still lacking a lot of things. So hopefully people can understand and then not criticize. But the fact that we should go out and observe people and should learn those good things.
I agree. I absolutely agree. We're not going to change her mind tonight. Okay, but she's right. Okay, she's absolutely right. Okay, not a problem at all. Okay, and we all have to get better at it. The kitchen is the place where there are many afflictions, many afflicted people. That's why I gave you that rule, not to afflict others. That's why. It's the antidote to that environment. The Chinese never invented it. I just created a tool. Okay? Now, you're right, and she's right. We should be cleaner, have better standard, higher standards. I agree with that. Okay, I have no problem with that. The only excuse I have is that we are short-handed. We are so busy. We have so many things to do that my students are running ragged. It's just overwhelmed with the kind of work we have. Okay, and we are growing as well. So it's not one person who's assigned to a position for a long, long time at all. Okay, especially because we need to move people around. Okay, to fill the needs and for training purposes. Yes, 8.
Master Cordelia Lay said, I've been at Go For It for a year. I've tried to clean up myself, but honestly, I have no idea where to put things away. Not everyone knows where to put things. I'm sorry if I afflict others about this.
Okay, me neither. That's why I don't even try to clean up. No excuse, but absolutely. And we try. The point, we try the best way we can, and most of the time we can't help but afflict others and fall short of their expectations. And that's the way it is. This is why the kitchen is a very good place to cultivate, okay, to practice. Okay, now, there's a lot of room for improvement. I agree with that, and hopefully we find better things, better ways. I tell you, contrast you to our environment versus the Master Hsuan temples. Typically, they have a lot of manpower. They have lots of people that they can call on to help to clean, and they assign to the same job, like an assembly line. We don't have that kind of luxury. Okay. Plus, our training is different. Now, the problem I have is this. I remember when I first accepted disciples, and in Long Beach, and I was living in Long Beach. So my disciples would come and say, you're Caucasian, so you need to learn to plant blessings. Okay, so I'm going to bring you to Long Beach Monastery, okay, to plant blessings. Okay, meaning that I don't go there. It's a women's temple. I don't care to go there. But you should go there to volunteer in the kitchen to help out. Okay, now this person here is Roberta. Anyone remember Roberta? She's 74 years old back then. Okay, and very sincere, very hardworking. Okay, but when I said, in order to help with your cultivation, you need more blessings. So go into the kitchen and help in the kitchen. I don't have a kitchen here, so go to the Master Hsuan's temple's kitchen and help out. So she went in there and helped for a few times, and later she came back to me and said, Master. I said, yeah, what? They kicked me out. I said, why? They don't like the way I do things, so they kick me out. Roberta, she's not very, he's not very agile with the finger. She has arthritis, okay? And she doesn't cook Chinese, okay? And she doesn't speak Chinese. The kitchen is Chinese, okay? And so she gets in the way, She doesn't understand what they're talking about. They talk to her. They couldn't understand. She could not understand their English. Okay, so it's a mismatch. So eventually they kick her out and say, just go outside. Don't come in the kitchen anymore. So she told me they forbade me to go to the kitchen. I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem when you get afflicted in the kitchen. I have a problem when you kick people out, my disciple out. It offends me. Yes, too.
Mô Phật và Thầy thì ngày xưa con cũng vô nhà bếp ở Giảng Phật Thành đó, biết không? Thì tụi con một đám đó cũng 5-7 người đó, nhiều khi vô nhà bếp đó thì hồi đó mình cũng không biết làm đâu. Thì người ta chỉ làm sao thì mình làm vậy thôi. Mà vô có cái người đó là cái người kêu bằng người giữ nhà bếp á, nó đi qua đi lại, nó nhìn rồi nó đuổi người này kia, đuổi người này đi, đuổi người kia đi. Cái con cũng giật mình, con cũng hết hồn, nó ủa sao mà người ta mình vô mình làm công quả như vậy, sao tại sao mà người ta đuổi mình đó, biết không? Kêu người này đi, người kia đi. Cái con cũng đặt câu hỏi đó. Tại vì đó mình làm ở trong nhà bếp đó, làm công quả cũng phải có một cái tâm thanh tịnh, chứ không phải mà cái miệng mà như chợ cá vậy đó, người ta cũng không có thích nữa, người ta cũng kêu mình ra nữa. Đó. Thì con ở trong nhà bếp á, thì con làm lâu nhất ở trọng, nhiều khi đó con đi mỗi một năm con đi mấy lần á, thì ở của Jen đó thì nó cứ kiếm tôi với Hương với cái cô Hoa, 3-4 người đó thì ở của Jen nó kêu tụi tôi đi xuống dưới làm. Rồi nhiều người ta đi làm lắm mà mấy người kia nó đuổi đi ra hết, nó không có cho. Đó. Cũng có một cái quy lực cũng rất là hay.
Okay, very good.
Ai muốn
Accept that.
làm. Mô Phật.
Accept that. Okay.
So, Master, at the kitchen at CCTV, at first I have a group of 5-7 people. At first we came there, we really didn't know anything. And then we just follow instruction. And then I noticed there was kind of like a manager that walking around and watching people. And then if people did not follow the rule or whatever, that person will kick the people out. And then in the beginning I didn't understand, and I asked like, why are you kicking people out? So later on I understand that, when you work in the kitchen, you need to keep your mind pure. You cannot be like you are in the middle of the market that selling fish or meat or whatever. And then later on, our group, my group, come more often, and then we became like the old timer over there, and then they like us more.
Very good. I agree. Okay, that's no problem with me. Yes, 8.
Master Pingdeng Chinching said, I was in the Blessing Temple a few times. My impression was it was great, organized, like Ruguo was asked to get up the moment he sat on the bowing cushion. Strict is good, but lack flexibility as WMT.
Okay, let me tell you, Roberta, if you think that she's impure, has a lot of false thoughts, it cannot be further from the truth. I wouldn't send her there unless she has enough kung fu, which is pretty high. In fact, later she became a 4th-stage arhat. You cannot tell me she's impure. You cannot tell me she has a lot of false thoughts. She doesn't. You cannot tell me she's insincere. She took my instructions very well, very respectfully, and she executed with utmost sincerity. I told her to go work. She wanted to work. Never asked me why. So you cannot tell me that the kitchen staff there is purer than my disciple. It's not possible. Okay? So anyway, so this is something that I feel that we could learn from that. There are lots of things we can learn from that, from this kitchen thing here. What I need you to understand is that it's not about cleanliness for me. It's not about being right. It's about what I find deplorable is a lack of kindness. Here you have a white lady who's old, who has arthritis on her fingers, so she's not very agile with the hands. She wants to help. And what do? You throw her out. Where is your kindness? Where is your compassion? What kind of cultivation is that? If you're like that, I don't want to go to your temple. I don't want to bring my disciples to your temple. Because that's not the kind of Mahayana Buddhism I want people to be exposed to. Okay? I have no problem with cleanliness. You want to be clean, fine. You want to be dirty, I can live with that. You want to be clean, I can live with that. But the insistence on being right, being clean, doing it your way, over serving others, helping others, to me, that's not cultivation. Okay? It's a lack of understanding of cultivation. It's too Chinese. I don't like it. I take dirty, I take chaos, I take disorderly, as long as people are kind to each other. That is important to me. I can't care less, okay, about whether it's clean up. Because you know why not? Because I started already, I said, is any of you, besides June and Francis, not clean? So if you see in the kitchen, you see June and Francis, kick them out. It's not a problem. But the rest of us, you cannot kick us out because we're all clean. It's just that we're not meeting your standards, that's all. So we can learn. If you're kind enough to teach us, eventually we learn. And that's a problem. It's just like people are so narrow-minded. They only see producing food. They only see cleanliness. And they forgot about why there's a kitchen in the temple and why don't we buy food from a restaurant? Huh? Why don't we order, like biandang, the Chinese, they have this, you put the lunch in a box. And many Chinese temples, they do that because the kitchen is such a mess. They would order, I know some restaurants here, okay, where they actually, on the weekends, they cook at home to provide these biandang to the temples close by. Okay, so when people go to the temple at lunch, they each served a lunch box. What's the Chinese call it? Bento. Chinese is biandang. Okay, so that's what people do because they know the kitchen is too much of a mess. People fight, people argue, and people are so afflicted. We have a kitchen because I want you to be afflicted, so that I can teach you. About kindness, about compassion. I find it so deplorable. It bothers me. What bothers me most is the attitude. It's not about cleanliness. I can live with that. You're clean, I'm happy. You're not clean, I'm happy too. It doesn't bother me. What bothers me is a lack of consideration for others. That's not American. The Caucasians look at us in very unfavorably and say, you Chinese claim you practice kindness, compassion, and you have absolutely none. And that's what I'm concerned about. I'm less concerned about cockroaches and cleanliness and orderliness. I'm more concerned about the lack of kindness and compassion in the kitchen staff's heart. And they afflict everyone. That concerns me. Okay? Yes, you want to be clean, you want to be perfect. I love it. But should never be like that at the expense of being kind to the volunteers, of being considerate to them, and in particular, patiently put up with them. That's called cultivation in the kitchen. Kitchen is where we cultivate too. We cultivate everywhere. To the Chinese, they're so obsessed about it, so they worried about producing good food, keeping it clean, and so forth. But they forgot about the big picture. Big picture is kitchen is a place of cultivation. Two, that's our Dharma, our American Wei Yang Dharma. Yours is Chinese Wei Yang Dharma. Mine is American. Because I want to help the people in the 21st century. The Chinese understand your cleanliness and your orderliness, but here we don't. We can't relate to that when we look at how inconsiderate we are towards newcomers, towards people who don't know what they're doing. If they don't know what they're doing, please take the time to teach them slowly, patiently. That's cultivation. No one nodding their heads. Oh my God, I feel I'm speaking to a blank, a vacuum. It's so hard. Fasting, are you? Okay, we move on. Okay, just think about it. Just for your consideration. That's of great importance to me. Okay, think about it. Consider it, okay? Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. Usually I stay as far away from the kitchen as possible because I hear there can be a lot of drama. But since you brought it up, I thought if it's okay, I'd share some American perspective.
Okay.
And I don't know how I can only assume it's similar in China and Vietnam and Korea, but in a Southern culture, American home, the kitchen is the heart of the home. It's where everyone eats, they come together, they share food, and they relax and have some joy together, hopefully. I think that's the same here at the temple. From an American perspective. And it can be an anxiety of sorts the first time I came to the temple and tried to participate in any kitchen activities. Now, I know I'm different because I'm this big white guy who shows up and everyone's like, here, eat, sit, eat. Let me take your dishes. And I was so appreciative.
And I turn around and say, this guy never cleans after himself, doesn't even do dishes.
And then the second time I came, I tried to do my dishes. They're like, no, we'll take that from you. We'll take that from you.
Don't break dishes.
And then the third time I came, I said, I could clean my dishes. And they're like, no, we'll take your dishes.
You don't do a good job like master. They complain, I don't wash my bowls properly either.
The fourth or fifth
On
time,
and on and on.
the fourth or fifth time, I managed to wait until no one was looking so I could try and clean my own dishes. And then when I got to where I would clean my own dishes at Lu Mountain Temple, I wasn't quite sure what to do. And that was okay, but I'm sharing this kind of long story because I think that's what a lot of people who visit here with an American perspective, they want to contribute to the kitchen. It's a very critical point of acceptance and belonging, and if it goes well, it can pave the way for countless blessings for that person in the future. So I appreciate your words about kindness in the kitchen.
Okay, thank you for your input. All right, let's move on. Yes, 8.
Master Bington Jingjing said, Master, I heard of a story Master Xuanhua requested the food served to him to be remade because it was full of huoyao. Referencing the cook was angry and fighting in the kitchen, common for Master. Why would Master Xuanhua do that? Was it out of compassion?
I wanted to teach those people. He couldn't care less about the food. Okay? He wanted to teach them that when you cook the food and you afflict it, the food is no good, no matter how great or a chef you are. If you're an expert at cooking and you know what you're doing, but when you afflict it, you're poisoning the food. We know it, or you don't know it. That's all. Yes, 8.
San Jose Daniel said, shout out to the folks at Go Forest. They do a good job at teaching newcomers etiquette.
Yeah, but Go For It has a problem. You don't help out in the kitchen, they want to throw you out. You don't belong here. Everyone must help in the kitchen and clean up. And I try to tell them, no, each one does his own thing, her own things. You don't force people into the same mold, okay? Anyway, that's not cultivation, to force people in the same mold. All right, afflicting people, see? Yes, 8.
Altadi said, Gordon Ramsay always looks angry in his show.
Okay. Yes, 6.
상욱스님 혹시 카카오톡 메시지 보실 수 있나요? 제가 한국말로 보내드렸는데 그걸 보시면 통역하시기 좀 편하실 것 같아서요. 네, 그럼 지금 제가 읽을게요. 마스터 우선 먼저 어제 일을 사죄드립니다. 시간이 없다고 하셨는데 제가 그 말씀은 언제 아직도 제가 많이 자기중심적인 제 모습을 봤습니다. 부끄럽고 죄송스럽다는 말씀을 먼저 드리고 싶습니다.
Master, I want to say about yesterday. You told me you don't have time, but I forgot that, and I was very self-centered. I felt ashamed about that.
그리고 마스터를 비롯해서 많은 분들이 손해를 감수하신 덕분에 이곳에서 도움을 받고 있다는 것을 알고 있는데요. 인식하고 있고 네, 하세요. 죄송합니다. 마스터를 비롯해서 많은 분들이 손해를 감수하신 덕분에 이곳이 있다는 것을 인식하고 있고 감사한 마음이 있습니다. 그래서 저도 기여를 하고 싶고 또 덕을 쌓고 싶은데 지금의 제 수준에서는 저는 번뇌가 일어나는 것이 싫습니다.
So I want to say thank you to Master and all other people. And so I want to contribute. I want to get blessing, but in my situation, I don't like me to get afflicted.
그러니까 어제는 남을 돕는 것에 대한 어려움을 말씀을 드렸고 오늘은 남의 도움을 받는 것의 어려움에 대해서 말씀을 드리고자 합니다.
Yesterday, I talked about my difficulty to help others, and today I want to talk about getting help from others.
우선 먼저 제가 남을 도와주는 방식은 상대에게 저의 도움이 필요한지 그것을 먼저 확인합니다. 그리고 어떤 부분을 도와줬으면 좋겠는지를 확인합니다. 구체적으로 예를 들면 만두를 빚는다면 야채를 씻기를 원하는지 야채 피를 하나하나 떼는 걸 원하는지 설거지를 해주기를 원하는지 그것을 구체적으로 확인합니다. 저의 입장에서는 저처럼 하는 게 기본 상식이라고 생각을 하고 사는데 제가 한국에서 살면서 저처럼 하는 사람은 거의 없었습니다. 이런 경우 저는 늘 저의 영역이 침범당했다는 생각이 들었고 저를 도와주고자 하는 사람들에게까지 번뇌가 일어났습니다.
When I help others, I first ask how I can help very specifically. But usually people don't do that. So I got afflicted when people help me.
밑에 우선 먼저 그것도 다 하셔도 될 것 같은데요. 네네 알겠습니다. 그러면 그러니까 저는 그러니까 제가 남을 도와주는 방식은 상대에게 도움이 필요한지 어떤 부분을 도와주면 좋겠는지를 확인하는데 여기까지 먼저 해주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
So the way I help others, I first ask them how I can help them. Very specifically, I ask them.
근데 제 입장에선 이게 기본 상식인데 저처럼 하지 않은 사람들이 많고 그래서 저는 이제 저를 도와주고자 하는 고마운 마음을 알겠는데 그런 것에 대해서 번뇌가 일어났습니다.
I think that's the cat, but I don't see people who like me in Korea. So I got afflicted very easily when people help me.
그래서 저는 남을 돕기도 싫고 남의 도움을 받기도 싫은 사람이었다는 것을 인식하게 되었습니다.
So I recognize that I don't want to help others and I don't want to get help from others.
그래서 질문은 도움을 주고받는 존재가 되고 싶은데 어떻게 하면 좋을지 질문드립니다.
So how can I change this attitude? How can I help others and get help from others?
I don't know. You have too many problems. Don't know where to start. Okay, so there is this question that's a matter about Chinese style versus our style, where Master YongHua says, it's like San Jose says, he sets a high standard that work very well, and has always been that's how they train the people in China, and they're very successful. They produce a lot of outstanding Buddhist disciples, bodhisattvas, and so forth. Okay, so it's a success formula for them, where they keep on stressing rule, order, follow the rules. And I see that in the Koreans, for example. The Koreans are also rule-oriented. They're very orderly, very clean, and so forth. This seems to be the Asian culture, and it works very well for the Chinese. Okay, because look. Results speak for themselves. Master Shenhua, as Jun said, he's preaching the same way that they've been teaching Chan for 1,000 years. Not much difference. I mean, they emphasize the same thing. Cleanliness, orderly, follow the rules, and bring forth the result of the way, and do not force think all the time. All these are fundamental Chan teachings, okay? This is correct. Nothing wrong with it. Yes, too.
Mô Phật bạch thầy, sau này đó, dạng Phật thành đó, hồi đó thì người Đài Loan thì nó ở trọng nấu ăn rất là nhiều. Tới sau này đó thì ngày Hòa Thượng Tiên Hóa đó thì người ta cũng biết rất là nhiều. Thì cái người Việt Nam mình đó cũng tới để nấu nướng. Thì cái người Tàu cũng tới để nấu nướng. Thì 3-4 phái người để ở vô trọng mà để nấu nướng. Thì cái người mà giống cái người phương trượng ở nhà bếp gì đó thì cũng rất là hay. Thì bây giờ cái người Việt Nam mình đó đi tới mà để nấu đó phải có những cái gia vị của người Việt Nam. Nấu xong rồi đó thì cái người mình cái gia vị của người Việt Nam đó thì mang tới mà để nấu xong rồi đó thì cái người phương trượng đó nó kêu phải lấy về. Mấy người kia không biết xài những cái đồ này rồi để đó thì muốn bỏ thì phí, rồi muốn xài thì không biết xài. Thì tới sau này đó thì nó có 3-4 phong phái ở trọng để nấu ăn đó thầy. Thì đồ ai nấy tới lấy đi để nấu, rồi xong nấu xong rồi phải lấy về. Đó. Thì nó không có để phức tạp ở trong đó, trong cái nhà bếp đó. Nhiều khi đó cái gia vị này, cái gia vị kia kêu bằng nó sắp đầy ở trên, thì ở trong cái người phương trượng nó không có cho để những cái đồ. Mà ai nấy những cái đồ gia vị của ai thầy lấy. Rồi ở trong chùa cái gia vị của gia vị ở trong chùa để trong chùa xài thôi. Nó không có cái đồ này một mớ, đồ kia một mớ, nó sắp gì nó quá là phức tạp đó. Thì cái đó nó chia ra là cũng rất là hay. Mô Phật.
Master, I noticed that in the beginning at CCTV, there was a lot of Taiwanese people came and cook, and then later on, Master Xunhua became more famous, and then more and more people came. So there are a lot of Vietnamese, Chinese, and other ethnic came. And then, I noticed that the kitchen manager, she said that the abbot of the kitchen, but I think it's the kitchen manager, the way they organize is very well. Like, for example, the Vietnamese came and cooked, they have to bring their own spices. And then after they done, then the manager ordered them to bring those spices home. And because they say like, okay, the Vietnamese cook the Vietnamese food, and then if you leave those things there, people don't know what to use, and then over time it may get expired, and then it got rotten or whatever. That's very wasting. So they have the rule that whoever cook will bring their own spices, and then after they done cook, they will brought home those things, and then the temple will have their own spices to use to cook later. So I think like the way they organize like that is to minimize all of the complication.
That's very good. Yeah, good point. We should bring your own spices and then bring them home, so that is no waste, and it's more orderly. I agree with that. It's a good practice. I hope they will implement that. Okay, let me go back to this point here. And this is about Chinese versus American. I need to emphasize this. I want to emphasize this. Okay. He says you should not be false thinking all the time. And he said, if you have a resolve for the way, whether the food and drink are good or not, you would still cultivate. This is very Chinese way of speaking. To them, cultivation means something to them. I don't know what in Chinese culture cultivation means. I don't know what Korean culture cultivation means. Okay? But it doesn't mean anything to us Americans. What is cultivation? Huh? What is cultivation? What is cultivation of the Chinese? What is cultivation of the Koreans? What is cultivation of the Vietnamese? For people here, we need to understand better what is cultivation. Even using this word, no one knows what it really means. What is cultivation? So this is a problem I have. This kind of instruction. It doesn't mean much to me. I listen to it, I repeat it, everyone regurgitates it. Say, yeah, we should cultivate. We cultivate. We have resolve for the way, and on and on and on. And they don't know what they're talking about because they're not doing that. They're not cultivating at all. They only talk about they should cultivate, but they're not cultivating. They don't know what cultivation means. All the Chinese talk like this. Old Chinese, young Chinese. Ray, what is cultivation? Nine.
That is a difficult question to answer. To me, I feel it's like self-improvement.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other Chinese? Tell me, what is cultivation? Korean, what is cultivation to you? Well, you're thinking. Let's answer 8. Let's give 8 a chance to talk.
San Jose Daniel said, cultivation to me is to solve problems. Daniel Wisniewski say, cultivating love, compassion, grace.
Okay. Anyone else? What is cultivation? Koreans, what is cultivation to you? Please explain to us. In your culture, what is cultivation? I'm asking both the Sunnims and lay people. What is cultivation to you? Please enlighten us. Q&A.
Emitofuo Master, cultivation for me that I'm watching my horse thinking. If it come up, then I have realize it or not. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Q&A. There's still more.
Yeah.
That's it? That's it, you? Okay.
So sometimes I forgot. So
sometimes you forgot to cultivate. Okay, we understand. Go ahead, 8.
Chris L. said, cultivation to me is to reduce afflictions, increase compassion, wisdom, and overcome bad habit. Brady McBride said, cultivation is bringing the red cherries of your practice to fruition.
Okay.
C.Y. Wong, to cultivate the 10 paramitas.
Okay.
Derek said, cultivation to me is development, can be anything, patience, wisdom, concentration, samadhi.
Okay.
Emily said, cultivating is enduring vigor and learning patience.
Okay. Oh, very good. Koreans, why are you so quiet? You lost your tongue? The Koreans, for the record, they lost their tongue. When Master asked them a question directly, point blank, none of them. What is cultivation to you Koreans? Sunim, what's cultivation to you? What did you learn in Sangha school? What is cultivation? Don't you guys agree? And you guys agree that we in America, when you talk to us this way, you say that you should cultivate. I'm going to ask you, what am I supposed to do when I cultivate? This is what the Americans will do to you. You see, I have one white person who agrees with me. Yes, Mary Jo. 4.
Cultivation to me is a series of practices that are designed to make you a better person, a kinder, more compassionate and patient person. So you're there to help others.
Okay, very lofty. Q&A.
I don't know about the Chinese definition of cultivation. For me to follow master, I feel cultivation is passing master's tests.
Passing master's test. Okay, anyone else? Guru, what is cultivation? You eating again already? What?
10 p.m., Master.
10 p.m. Look at her. I can't wait for 10 p.m. You still have the legs still working? And Tony was asking, what if her legs don't work anymore? We cannot afford to have an invalid in the house. Yes. What is cultivation?
Is to learn to be patient.
Learn to be patient. Anyone else? What is cultivation? Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. Cultivation is following the instruction of your good knowing advisor as best you can and listening to your wife.
I can't beat that. Exactly. Cultivation, let me repeat for your sake. Your answer to that question tells you about your practice. Is it Buddhist or non-Buddhist? Is it Hinayana versus Mahayana? So you cannot tell me you would still cultivate, as in slide 143. This cultivate here is too vague. Cultivation, I don't know about the non-Buddhists because I don't know what they do. Okay, I don't know much about Hinayana, but let me tell you, I feel that this is Hinayana. They grind it out. They have these high standards, and you pressure yourself to conform to this mold where you must do things this way. If not, you get out. Okay? So it's only this narrow path that you need to follow. Otherwise, you're not cultivating. That's not cultivation at all. I beg to differ. This is the problem I have with the Chinese instructions. It worked for them. Maybe in a Chinese culture, this is what they expect. Okay, this is what they're conditioned to do. It would not work in America. It would not work in the 21st century. The proof is that no Chinese understand what cultivation means anymore. No Korean understand what cultivation means anymore. No Vietnamese understands what a cultivation means anymore. No Taiwanese understands what cultivation anymore. Yes, A.
Master, there's a Korean lady's answer.
Yes.
Cultivation means in Korean helping something or somebody to grow.
Okay, see, you agree? Do the Koreans, you agree with that? The Koreans, they all lost their tongue. As soon as you put the pressure on them, the tongue disappears. Cultivation in Mahayana is to follow the good, knowing advisor's instructions. Look at your own practices. Look at how you were trained. If it's not that, then it's not Mahayana training, in my opinion. If you talk about 6 parameters, 10 parameters, you talk about compassion, you talk about repentance, you talk about bowing and so forth, you talk about mantra and so forth. There's endless ways to do it. But cultivation, Mahayana, is very precise. It's not a vague thing at all. In Hinayana, they cultivate the way he explained it here. You grind it out, you keep it pure, you follow the standards, you follow the rules, and you have this channel you need to go through. If not, you're a failure. It won't fly in America. It won't fly in the 21st century. This is why the Chinese don't become enlightened anymore. The Taiwanese don't become enlightened anymore. The Koreans don't become enlightened anymore. The Vietnamese don't become enlightened anymore. The DRBA people don't become enlightened anymore because it's too narrow. It doesn't work for the newcomers. It doesn't work for people. It's too vague. If you talk about 6 parameters, do you know that bodhisattvas practice 1 paramita per lifetime? Not 6. 1 paramita. And these people are the ones who have wisdom. And you practice 10, you practice 5, you practice all over. That's not cultivation. Is it clear? This is our standards, not Chinese. It comes from the Chinese. I simply make it more precise, make it clearer. I didn't invent this. This is from the Mahayana Chinese. The spirit Mahayana from India to China is all the same. You follow the good, knowing advice, instructions. Meaning that you don't take the microphone and speak before you're given the chance to speak. And when the good knowing advisor gives you instructions, you execute until you give them the next instructions. Don't ask me for more instructions. You don't make excuses. I can't do it. If you cannot do it, that's precisely why I asked you to do it. If you can do it, why do I bother telling you to do it? See the problem I have? Too Chinese. That's why I was confused for years. For 7 years, I walked around saying, I should cultivate, I must cultivate. Everyone else cultivates. They have the system to cultivate. They have protection to cultivate. They have food to cultivate. They have clothing to cultivate. They have temples to cultivate. They have brothers and sisters to cultivate. They have Dharma protectors to cultivate. I have nothing, and yet I must cultivate. If you follow the system, you're getting nowhere. How did it become this way? So vague. You see, it's a cultural thing. Back then, this is for the average Chinese, for average Indian, where they do this and everyone would conform and do this. And over the time, you have enough, 1 billion people, 3 billion people, they do this. Some of them are bound to succeed because they have so much manpower. Okay? They have the system already, the culture already. Our culture, our times are totally different. We are unruly. We are irreverent. We are so selfish. We are self-centered. We are stupid. We have so many problems. And we cultivate with what? This is why no one is getting anywhere. It's too confusing. They don't know what the hell. I do 6 paramitas. I practice the Great Compassion Mantra. I practice the 42 hands and eyes. And as soon as someone I send over the kitchen to help out doesn't meet my standard, get the hell out. Is that cultivation? Who gave you the instruction to kick people out of the kitchen? I'm calm. You should have resolved. You understand what I'm talking about? Okay, the premise is that you don't decide to do what you want to do. You do what you're told. Who the heck are you to make demands? You should be grateful someone give you instructions, so execute. I cultivated for several years with 0 instructions. I went to a system where this is what they do when they teach their people. After 4 years, it's a waste of my life. All I ask for, please tell me what to do. I have this problem. I work so hard like you do. You told me to. Now, my skin is red. My body is red. What do I do? I shake. What do I do? They only talk. You should cultivate. But when you have a problem, when you cultivate, they turn their back on you. That's not training. That's not Mahayana. I will not ask you to waste your life like this, because I wasted my life doing those things already. And that's why here in the 21st century, we're going to be better, because our instructions are much more precise. Not this, we should cultivate. What the hey? And none of them, except for a white guy, could explain to me what a cultivation is. And he doesn't even cultivate. Think about it. They're so proud. I should return the light and look at myself. I will sit here for 20 days, 90 days, and fast for 90 days. Go ahead. Fast for 90 days as you become enlightened. Go ahead and practice the 10 paramitas and see you become enlightened. For 25 years I watched. No one, not my newcomers like me, is getting enlightened. The people who get enlightened are the ones who receive instruction from Master YongHua, who've been with him for years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. But for people like me, who are left for them to teach, to train, got nowhere. Meaning that doesn't bode well for newcomers at all. Meaning you, us. That's why Mahayana dies. That's why it dies. That's how it dies. Because the next generation is not properly trained. So you worry about the food, you worry about the kitchen. I worry about cultivation. Eternal light illuminate. I see you have resolve for the way. Very Chinese again. Okay? Resolve for the way is a long, long way to go. This is fine. But it's a lot of talk. It's not clear what you're supposed to do. I went through years, eternal light, looking, what do I do, and so forth. I got nowhere. You have resolve for the way, nothing is a problem. You don't have resolve for the way, everything is a problem. For me, it's exactly the opposite. My own experience. When I have resolve for the way, everything is a problem. When I don't have resolve for the way, there's no problem whatsoever. I was so happy. Ask the people who don't come to our temple. They're very happy. They don't have resolve for the way. That's where I come from. We're very happy. We have no business being here. What's the resolve for the way for? But when you have resolved the way, you want to become enlightened, that's when you have a lot of problems, when the problems come, the serious problems surface. Okay? It's not that he's wrong. I disagree with him here because it's for your sake. He's teaching his pupils. You are different from his pupils. If I were there, I would teach the same way as well. You're talking about you. We listened to him teach back then. It doesn't mean it should be blindly applied to us. It's not for you. It's not for us. We're way too advanced for this. Any questions or comments? So if you agree with me that to cultivate is to follow the good knowing advisor's instructions, okay, then what does it mean? The white person.
Thank you, Master. To me, it means put aside my fear and my stress at crossing my legs, which is so difficult for me, and keep doing it. Don't quit. That's it.
The reason it's difficult for you is because you have a lot of obstructions. Sin here is not in the legs. What does it mean? Am I the only one who gets it? Yes, 4.
I would say to have faith in your good knowing advisor.
Faith in good knowing advisor? Very good. Anyone else? Aren't you glad I'm here? I can interpret it for you, all of you white people. And Koreans, and white people, and yellow people, and red people, and black people. What does it mean? Yes, 4.
From the way I think of it is you can spend a lot of time spinning your wheels, doing things you think are going to give you a path to progress and get you enlightened, instead of listening to the good knowing advisor's instructions, which are designed to get you there the quickest.
Okay, 8.
Derek said, don't quit. Ping
Don't quit.
say, for me to eat lunch at WMT.
Okay, anyone else? I'm asking this question not only for you, but for everyone. If you want to cultivate, if the Chinese want to cultivate, the Vietnamese want to cultivate, the Koreans want to cultivate, the Sri Lankans want to cultivate, Mahayana that is. What is the requirement? Find a good knowing advisor. It goes back to fundamentals. Who is your good knowing advisor? That's a question you should ask. You don't decide for yourself because you're confused. Your entire life you're confused. Just because you read a few books, just because you spend a few years, 10 years, 20, 30 years training and reading books and cleaning kitchen and cooking and so forth and chanting and meditating, does it mean that you know what you're doing? When are you going to wake up? And this is where I feel that Master YongHua failed us. His instruction is for the Chinese, not for the 21st century people like us. So everyone like you walk around saying, I'm cultivating, I'm meditating, I'm going to Chanchis, I do. But it's confusion. You think you're cultivating, but actually you are groping for solutions that you don't understand. Yes, 8.
Vicky Sprout said it means don't listen to yourself, listen to your good knowing advisor.
So it goes back to the foundation. What do you do to cultivate? You find a good knowing advisor, you better choose a good one, and you follow the instructions. You should be grateful, let me tell you, because I speak from experience. Because I begged for instructions from the so-called good knowing advisors. They would not give it to me. I begged and begged. I bowed to them. They said, bow to me 3 times, I teach you. I bowed 3 times immediately. They still wouldn't teach me. You should be grateful that you're given instructions, because instructions from a good knowing advisor is like the Chinese saying, you take a torch and you go into a dark room that has been dark for 1,000 years. Now you can see again. That's a good knowing advisor. The Chinese is extremely wise. It's just that I don't know how they lost all this. Now they all talk. And the people who talk, that's why I call them Hinayana Mahayana. They lack precision. Talk and talk and talk and talk. You should cultivate, you should cultivate. But we're going to be different. It's their problem, not ours. Okay? You're free to choose. They are free to choose whatever they want to do. And if you follow our American Weiyang brand of Mahayana, I guarantee you make progress. And they won't. Okay? Thank you, everyone. It's because I spent 15 years demonstrating that. Now I tell you. I followed the Chinese style. I said, it didn't work for me. I had so much confusion. Because you ask them, they repeat the same thing. Master YongHua says so. Master YongHua says so. In this situation, this is what he said. I said, I read it too. I listened to the tape too. But it doesn't help me. And that's why they got nowhere. So I spent 15 years finding out how to do it better than the Chinese. Because I'm exasperated, I'm frustrated with wasting my life and my time with all these vague instructions. Life is too important to waste on cultivation.